Hi, my name is Christian, and I've been watching a lot of Press Your Luck reruns. Back in 1984, there was a man named Michael Larson who went on Press Your Luck, and he played the game better than anyone had ever played it. He walked away with the biggest prize package, a record that I think stood for 22 or 24 years after the fact. And the way that he was able to do this wasn't just by luck, of course, but he found an exploit in the game that no one else had noticed. Press Your Luck has this board that shows up twice in each episode where there are prizes in these different squares and a light moves around like a cursor to choose a square, and the contestants hit plunger to stop the sequence, and then they get whatever prize is there. Sometimes there's a whammy and you lose all your money. Other times there are prizes, and sometimes there are prizes with additional spins, and then you get to keep going. Well, Michael, I think, used a VCR and slowed the game down and looked very carefully at the light patterns and committed them to memory before going on the show. So he went on the show. The taping was on May 19th, 1984, and today is March 19th, 2024. So we're coming up on 40 years, and I thought it would be fun to just dive in a little bit deeper. Now, for kind of a surface overview, there is a documentary called Big Bucks, The Press Your Luck Scandal. I think that's the name. It's on YouTube. There's also Wikipedia articles for the game show Press Your Luck and for Michael Larson. So those will give you a good overview. If you want to dive a little bit deeper, this is the video for you. I'd always kind of known the story about Michael Larson, and I understood in theory how he memorized the light patterns, but I hadn't seen a video of anyone who went through the same process that Michael did, so I thought it would be interesting to try. That's what I've done, and I'm here to share it with you. So just a couple weeks ago, I spent a couple afternoons like looking at the different YouTube videos, and I used a mock-up in Illustrator to help me figure out and memorize these light patterns. So let me share that with you. This is the board. This is my mock-up of the board. And the two green squares are the squares that always give prizes. They never give whammies. And in the second round, they always come with an additional spin. These are the squares that I call the target squares. This is where my gaze is locked as the game is going on. And this is where all of the light patterns begin. I'm certain that this is what Michael did as well. I'm certain that he was also looking at these two squares. So as I've been memorizing these light patterns, I've given them little names. I hope you like the names. Let's get started. The first one I call the wiggle. It starts in that first of the two target squares. It zips down to the bottom row, and then it sort of wiggles up by going off the third squares on the left wall, fourth squares on the right wall, and then finally up to that money spot indicated by number 5. So this one is called the wiggle. The second one that I have memorized, I call the lean back. Starts in the exact same target square as the wiggle, bounces down to the bottom row before leaning back and coming almost back to the starting square, but just one next to it. Then it hits 4 on the right side, and then 5 is the money square. The third one I call the ricochet. This one's a little bit different. It starts in the same starting square, but notice that there's only 4 beats to this pattern. It starts in the first target square, bounces off the right wall, almost straight across to the left wall, and then straight across to the right wall. That's why I call it the ricochet. But when I was trying to learn this, I kept getting thrown off because there's only 4 beats, and the other ones, the lean back and the wiggle, had 5 beats. My timing was just off. I couldn't get it. Now, this is a pattern that Michael used a lot on the show, so I know that he favored it, and I couldn't figure out how he got the timing down. So I looked at the sequence of lights that come just before the ricochet. I've marked them here as negative numbers. The earliest light that lights up is that -4 in the top left. And notice that it starts 1 square to the left of my target squares and then hops over and goes to the -3 square, which is to the right of my 2 target squares. So what I did is I started widening my periphery. I still just really look at those 2 target squares, but I widened my peripheral vision a bit. And if I see the light pattern where it surrounds my starting squares, first with the -4, then the -3, I know that the ricochet is coming up, and I can get myself ready for the shortened pattern. Yeah, so when I see that happen, I don't even really look down at the -2 and -1. I know that those are happening. When it hits that number 1 target square, 2, 3, and I stop it on 4. This one is the 7. It begins on the second of the target squares. You notice that all the other ones began on the left target square. The 7 begins on the rightmost target square. And look at squares number 1, 2, and 3. It creates a number 7 shape. Then it bounces up and hits 4. Number 5 is the money square. This is another one that Michael uses quite a bit. Now this one is called the other 7. It does the same pattern. It begins on the first of the target squares though. 1, 2, 3 is the same shape before it hits 4 and 5, 5 being the money square. Michael never uses this. In fact, in the episodes that he's in, this one will pass him by and he just sits and waits until one of the other patterns comes up. I don't know why he didn't use this one. It seems like it fits in with the others. You know, it has a real distinctive 7 shape and it begins on that first target square and it's 5 beats. It feels like he should have used it. He never did, but I've thrown it here in the notes anyway. Okay, so that's the list of the shapes that I found. You can rewind this video, memorize them yourself if you're interested. Maybe I'm the only crazy one who wants to do that. But now I've searched on YouTube for Press Your Luck episodes. I've watched a lot of these, but I really haven't like memorized the sequence that happens in any of these episodes. I've only memorized what I just showed you in that presentation. So I'm just looking around for an episode that aired before Michael was on, because after Michael was on, they changed the pattern. So, okay, I think this one, I can't remember his episode number. I think he was in the high 100s. So I'll give this one a shot. And there may be ads. If there are, I'm going to hit pause and I'll resume the video in a sec. Okay, we're back. I got through the ads. All right, here's an episode. Let me go full screen on this, and I'm just gonna zip ahead. The first portion is the part where you earn the spin, so the host is asking questions and everybody's like, you know, trying to come up with answers for it. But the part that we want is this bit where they're doing the thing on the board. Now, I should also mention that sometimes the contestants buzz in before I would, so I might not get a chance to show some of these patterns. If so, I'll just kind of skip past. There was the wiggle. Did you see that? I'll rewind here and show it to you. The first light, whoops. What's going on? Sometimes I can't pause this thing with the space bar after stopping it. Okay, there's the first one. So I'm looking at my 2 target squares. First one lights up here. Now it goes down to the bottom row. And then I see it go over to the left wall, over to the right wall, and then finally up to the money square. So that's the wiggle. That's why I was able to stop it on the money square. And this guy doesn't know the wiggle, and that's why he missed it. Let's see what happens next. Okay, so he rang in before I would have. Sometimes it's beneficial, but sometimes you get the whammy. All right, let's see. Coming up on another person. Let's skip her first roll. Let's look at the next one. And here comes the 7. She stopped it just before I would have. But you can see that 7 shape coming up right here. This is the second of those target squares. Then it moves over 2 and then straight down up to the right wall, and that's where she stopped it. It would have continued up to the square that says 1250 at the moment, but she stopped it and she just missed a whammy, but she got some skis. Nice work. Let's keep going. And all right, didn't have a chance yet. Skip ahead. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, I see the ricochet right there. Okay. Let me rewind this one. So remember the ricochet is the one where I have those pre-squares that come up in my periphery ahead of time. So there it is. The top left corner lights up. And then I watched as it zipped past my target squares over to that 4th one on the board. Now I know the ricochet is coming up. It does some stuff down here at the lower corner. Then it goes to the first start square, the right wall, the left wall, and then ricochets back to the right wall. That's the ricochet. Okay, anyway, I think you get the point. I'm going to stop the video there. Go back through this video if you're interested. Just commit those patterns to memory, and then go on YouTube and watch some of the reruns and try to stop on those big money squares. That's it. Thanks a lot for watching.